that I stepped into the car today and it was warm. Oh my gosh, did that feel good? I got this like wool jacket on. You can see it on the YouTube stream. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I don't need this thing anymore. I am breaking free from the shackles.
Did you wear that jacket just to take it off on
of a
camera?
Carolina winner? We are absolutely. Hey, Diesel, this is the, remember we did the, unbutton one button on the shirt for every 10 viewers. Hey, listen, baby, listen, we are stripping down here today because it is too warm in the studio for that. And isn't that a delight? Fantastic to have you guys with us. Here's how you can take part of the show. You can give us a call at 844-326-3663. That's on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone. You can hit us on the text line at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. Coming up on Offsides today, how important is temperament when it comes to success? Definitive ruling on what the Chicago Bears should do with their number one overall pick. We are going to have a conversation about the faces of sports on the show. We're going to grade coaching hires. We've got Chris Phillips joining us. We've got another special guest joining us at 5:20 today. And I'm going to ask you guys, if you paid attention on Friday at 5:20, who is it that's going to be joining us at 5:20 today? And why will she be joining us at 5:20 today? We've got the top 5 at 5. We've got either or, and we have you here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. My friends, look, both sides of this rivalry always want to flex about what they can. South Carolina basketball beat a very, very good and game Florida Gators team on Saturday. Congrats to you. I understand people always want to make this about my own personal fandom. Congrats. Florida had a 10-point lead, 12 minutes to go, couldn't hold it. Don't deserve to win. Great job. Clemson had an embarrassing loss in basketball to Notre Dame over the weekend, 69, Rob Gronkowski's favorite number, to 62. No excuses for a performance like that in the month of March. But as they say, it happens. But the reality is, folks, you guys latch on to the results between your two schools when those two schools face one another. In football this year, it was Clemson 16, South Carolina 7. In men's soccer this year, it was Clemson 2, South Carolina 0. In basketball this year, it was Clemson 72, South Carolina 67. And then I took note of this, is that, I was listening to different sports radio this morning, and I heard very, very little mention of the fact that Eric Bakich absolutely put Mark Kingston in South Carolina square on the hottest of seats with back-to-back 5-4 walk-off victories this weekend. All right. Game at each place, game at each home field. There is no reason, no excuse to ever lose to your rival on your home field in baseball. Since I've been here 5 years, that has almost never happened, and Clemson wins both times. Guys, I'm going to ask you the question, because what I've heard consistently since I have been here, what I have heard time and time again, over and over and over again, is, well, Mark Ryan, Clemson's got football, but we have everything else. Football is the only thing they're good at. We, the Gamecocks, have everything else. Really? Well, I'm looking at a graphic right now that would say otherwise. 4 times over, 4 major sports. Total beatdown in Clemson's favor. If you are a Gamecock today, can I ask you this question? What are you holding on to? What is your point of pride as it pertains to Clemson and South Carolina? Perhaps it's women's basketball. Perhaps that's what you have. Perhaps that's all you have. You have a higher ranking than Clemson in men's basketball. And Lamont Paris is doing just an unfreaking believable job. But in the head-to-head, you wore the L. In the head-to-head, you wore the L. Folks, I'm here to tell you that definitively right now, this state belongs to Clemson. Okay? This state belongs to Clemson athletically. Mark Ryan, I'm listening to Homer Radio here on the show. Homer for Clemson. No, if the results were exactly reversed, I'd be telling you that it's South Carolina State. But you didn't beat Clemson 2-0 in soccer. You didn't beat Clemson 72-67 in basketball. You didn't beat Clemson 16-7 in football. And you didn't beat Clemson back-to-back 5-4 games. Already won the series with a game in April now not really being of significance. You've already won. You've already won. Gamecock fans, would you say, if I asked you this openly and honestly, is this a low point for you in sports? Is this a low point? I'm not saying you don't have things to be excited about. Your women's basketball team is awesome. You know, like you guys with Dawn Staley and Lamont Paris, you're paying attention to both versions of basketball for the first time in, 10 years? 12 years? Both versions of basketball at the same time? When's the last time South Carolina's women's team and men's team were both in the top 25? That's pretty awesome, right? Pretty awesome. But when it comes to your hated rival, you just keep wearing the L. And, you know, baseball is supposed to be the point of pride. That's supposed to be the thing that is yours, that no matter what, if everything else is going to wrong and everything else is hell in a handbasket, man, no, we got him in baseball. We got him in baseball. Until you don't. So this is Clemson State. Clemson runs this state. You can say that now definitively, and there's not a damn thing any Gamecock can say about it.
Well, let's call it the premier rivalry in the country, and you could argue that Michigan-Ohio State is the premier rivalry in the country. Coaches get fired when they can't beat the other team. That's one place we haven't gone in this rivalry. To my knowledge, not a single Clemson coach nor a single South Carolina coach has ever been fired because they go on a long losing streak to the rival. Maybe that needs to happen.
Ooh.
Maybe that needs to happen.
Ooh. So, folks, there you go.
And it needs to be stated publicly as that's why.
What would that result in?
What
What you just said, if that losing streak happens, what takes place?
What takes place is the other team has a now clear and defined reason for doing what they do, which is a reaction to the other team. Now, we all know that that's why Clemson and South Carolina each do some of the things that they do. It's all in reaction or trying to one up or trying to take a dig at the other. But then that also puts that program that fires the coach squarely in the little boy seat. Like, you know who's daddy, you know who's the little boy.
Guys, there's no favoritism here. There's no homerism here. This is what it is. And, you know, like, I appreciate and value Gamecock fans who can just admit it. Okay? Gamecock fans, you need to buy Clemson a Father's Day gift this year. They're your daddy. Okay? So begin brainstorming. You got about 3 months to figure it out. Okay? What are you getting the Clemson fan in your life this year? Because they are your daddy. All right? And Diesel, frankly, I don't give a rip who's upset about that. Okay? I really don't care. I've got the results right here, and look at this. It's in the form of a nifty little graphic.
Nice.
You know, I got all the results right here. They got the state of South Carolina divided into 4 quadrants. Guys, again, if the shoe was on the other foot, I absolutely would be saying it is your state, Gamecock fans. That's what we do here. We give you our opinions. I know the perception is that this show, Mark Ryan is against the Gamecocks. No. My opinions are just naturally that, you know, the athletic program since I've been here has been somewhere between underperforming and a joke. The athletic department, since I've been here, somewhere between underperforming and a joke. Not Dawn Staley. She's been incredible. But the basketball program has been forgettable. The baseball program has been underachieving. The football program, you don't want me to go there. You don't want me to go there. All right? You don't want me to touch that. And, it was always that, well, we've got everything else and Clemson has football, but we pay attention to all sports. Well, now Clemson is paying attention to waxing that ass of yours in all 4 sports. All right? How does it feel? At least it's smooth back there now, right? How does it feel? This is an absolute and total beatdown in all 4 major sports. And I'll tell you what, Clemson fans, if I were you, I would be perhaps more proud about this, Diesel, than I would be about beating Clemson in football, which happens just about every year. There have been
South Carolina beating
Clemson beating South Carolina in football, but just about every single year, which has happened every year that I've been here, except one, because you have now removed, erased, stricken from the record book the one thing that Gamecock fans have over you, that we know we're well-rounded. We're well-rounded. We beat you in everything else besides football. Well, now Clemson has broken down that well-round. And boy, that is a beatdown. Gamecock fans, what do you have to say for yourselves? Back-to-back losses in baseball? In your sports? In your sports? Back-to-back losses in baseball. Please explain that to me. Please explain that to me. Texter says, Mark, don't forget where you live. It'll get cold again. LOL. Yes, Texter, but I am enjoying it in the moment. Can you just please let me have this moment?
It's called false spring. There's false fall. There's false spring. You got to realize that we're not quite there yet.
Certainly. Texter says the game in Columbia was at a quote-unquote neutral game at Segra Park. Right. They're so cute at that age, aren't they? Neutral Park game in Columbia, South Carolina. How adorable. Really, it's so cute. Home game and everything but the name. Texter says, Mark, if Clemson and South Carolina would have played Friday, that would have been about 23,000 people for 3 days. That's pretty impressive. Brother, let me tell you what. All right. One of the things that I appreciate the most about the upstate is the love for college baseball, because I never worked anywhere before that gave a damn. Really. Like it was not something you could cover. And when I start doing sports that I can cover versus sports that I can't, what happens to me is I kind of stop watching it. I don't watch the NBA very much anymore. Why? Because I can't really cover it on the show. It gets crickets on the show. I really do like the NBA. I love basketball. I don't watch it a whole lot anymore because I can't cover it. But guess what's replaced it? A sport like college baseball. You go to the games, the atmosphere is lit. Everyone cares. Everyone's into it. Everyone's engaged. Man, I'm in. Brother, I'm in. You show me why I should care, and then I'm in. And you guys, I give credit for getting me in, getting me to buy in, hook, line, and sinker on that. Gamecock fans, are you open, willing, ready, and able to admit that Clemson is your daddy, that Clemson runs this state? Because I have graphical proof in my hands that they do. They have stricken from you your bragging rights, the last thing that you had. And that is that they got football, but we got everything else. So where do you go from here? Is this a low point in Gamecock athletics? It's funny you say that, Mark. You're clickbait, man. You're clickbait. It's funny you say that. Our basketball teams are great. Okay, Clemson beat you. Clemson beat you. Okay, like seriously. Clemson beat you. 4 major sports. What else you got? I'm here. I'm listening. What else do you have? All right, coming up next on the show, we, my friends, are going to ask you guys the question, how important is temperament in success? We'll tackle that next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Fantastic to have you guys with us. Great to see you guys again on YouTube at the Fan Upstate right now as well. And, of course, you guys can hit us up on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone at 844-326-3663. And the text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Texter says, in the last 15 years, USC men in the Final Four and multiple baseball national championships. I'm sure Clemson would trade an off year on head-to-head matchups for those accomplishments, much like USC would in football. Yeah, but Texter, Clemson's got football. So, football is what rules the roost. So, in a what have you done for me now society, it's nice to go back 15 years and say, hey, man, we made a Final Four. Hey, man, we won 2 baseball national championships. How about now, brother? How about now? I saw Josh Pate talk about this today. We've discussed this very thing on this show. We talked about the fact that Frank Beamer didn't win more than 6 games until his 7th year at Virginia Tech. And Josh Pate asked the same question we did. He said, would he get to year 7 today? Probably not. Probably not. If you haven't won more than 6 games in 6 years, you're probably not going to see year 7. We have a what have you done for me lately society. Okay. What have you done for me lately? And, well, guys, I mean, if you're a Gamecock fan, you've got to say, right? Clemson runs the state. When Clemson says our state, this is why. When Clemson University puts out a tweet that says Clemson is the university in the state of South Carolina, now you know why. They're absolutely dominating. The matchup with your rival really and truly matters. Matters tremendously. Okay? I don't know what else there is to say about it. I do not know what else there is to say. Guys, the other thing I want to get to here is what South Carolina men's basketball is doing, because it is crazy impressive. Crazy impressive what is happening right now. We are told that the Gamecocks are close to inking Lamont Paris to a very, very lucrative extension that would be very, very much earned. Over the weekend, number 18 South Carolina beat number 24 Florida 82-76. The Gators had a 10-point double-digit lead with 12 minutes to go. I was doing the CBS show at the time. I had it on my phone. I wasn't watching it, but I had score updates on my phone. And, I looked and it was 60-55 Florida with 8 minutes to go. And then the next time my phone dinged, it was 76-72 South Carolina with 3 minutes to go. And I'm like, the hell happened? We're doing fine. I blink and we're all of a sudden down 4, lose by 6. Gators gave up 51 points in the second half. And South Carolina held Florida to 76 points. Not the Gamecocks' best defensive output of the year, but a really, really strong one. All of which culminates in the Gamecocks being in the running for a regular season SEC crown for the first time in seemingly forever. Whereas the Gators have now been knocked out of the top 25. Too many losses for Florida. Too many losses. They have 9 L's on the year. You can't be in the top 25 with 9 losses. Yeah, they're in the tournament, but you're slipping towards an 8 seed. And if you're an 8 seed, you're going to be playing a 1 seed in the second round. Good luck with that, Florida. Good luck with that. Too many close losses. Lost to Alabama in overtime. Lost to South Carolina when you have a double-digit second-half lead. Lost to Texas A&M in the last month, who is now under 500 in the conference. Meanwhile, South Carolina keeps soaring. Standings right now in the SEC. Tennessee 13-3. Alabama 12-4. South Carolina 12-4. Kentucky 11-5. Auburn 11-5. Florida Gators 10-6. How many of you had the Gamecocks better than Auburn and Kentucky on your bingo card before the year began? Better than Bruce Pearl in Auburn and John Calipari in Kentucky? Anybody? Bueller? Fry? Anybody? Anybody had them there? I don't think so. I don't think you did. Yet here they are. Now number 17 in America, the South Carolina Gamecocks, darn near looking like they could be a Sweet 16 team under Lamont Paris. Now, look, one thing that the Gators and the Gamecocks have in common is they both had to go very, very heavy into the transfer portal. Todd Golden, Florida Gator head coach, gets a lot of credit. Man, he only got 2 high school recruits, hit on both. He signed 4 transfer portal recruits, hit on all 4. Well, how about Lamont Paris with a job that he's done with this team? Kind of piecing together an island of misfit toys and fueling the doubt that everybody had about them to achieve greatness. And that's what South Carolina is right now, folks. They're great. The SEC is a top 3 league in the entirety of the sports. And the Gamecocks are tied for second place.
The absurdity is that Auburn right now sits at number 6 in the net. We've had many conversations about the net. You don't buy it. That's fine. But what really blows me away about this net is that Auburn is 1-7 in quad 1 games in the net. 1-7. Yet they're still sitting in top 10 in the net. Doesn't make any sense to me. South Carolina's 3-3, which is not great. That's not an elite team. Elite teams don't go 500 in quad 1 games, but it's still a hell of a lot better than 1-7, which blows me away that Auburn is still there. South Carolina is 7-0 in quad 2 games, 5-2 quad 3, 9-0 in quad 4 games.
Yeah. All told, incredible run for South Carolina and what they've done. And they have done this consistently. They have gotten better as the season has gone on. First loss of the year was to Clemson. Then a loss to Alabama and a beatdown. Their worst loss of the year was to Georgia. A beatdown at the hands of Auburn, a stunner at the hands of LSU, and that's it. That's it. 5 losses on the year, and that's all she wrote. And I'll tell you guys what really impresses me is I go back to something that Lamont Paris said in the preseason that was darn near a topic that we would do on this show. You know how we do all these topics and we tell you who can win based on the history, and we tell you that, quarterbacks don't win the Super Bowl if they make up more than 13% of their team's salary cap. Lamont Paris darn near dropped an offsides-worthy radio topic on us before the season began. And I keep coming back to this because as the season wears on, it's all the more impressive. And they're still helmet scouted against. Duke is number 9. Duke is 23-6. How is South Carolina number 17 and the record is 24-5? Explain that to me, please. Somebody explain that to me. Okay? Like, how do they have a better record in a better conference and are 8 places below Duke? We don't let that happen in football. Apparently, we let that happen in basketball. But the doubt card, the nobody believes in us card, continues to be the calling card for Lamont Paris. I want you to listen to Lamont here talking about the Gamecocks being picked to finish last. This was in the preseason. The SEC preseason poll came out. The Gamecocks were picked 16th out of 16 teams. And now they sit second. Well, as you might imagine, Lamont Paris didn't much give a rip about that then, and doesn't give a rip about that now. Here is Lamont in October.
There were 14 picks last year. Does anybody know how many of those were right? The team was picked at whatever spot, and then it ended up finishing in that spot out of the 14 picks. 0. Not one team last year was picked in this spot and then finished in that same spot. So I say that only to say also half of the picks last year. Let's say if your standard deviation was 1 or 2 or 3, it seemed like you knew something and you picked those right. i.e., I picked the team first and they finished 4th. You had some sort of idea. 7 of the picks last year fit to that criteria. 7 of the picks were off by more than 4. 2 of the picks, one was off by 7, one was off by 8. So there's not much in a pick, but I will say this personally, and I hope our team takes this. The only thing I can thank them for is that they picked us last. Second to last is nothing. What does that mean? I can't even use that as billboard material. They pick us second to last. So last it is.
I love that guy. He thanks them for picking us last. Well, Diesel, realize there's a team in the SEC right now, 14-team SEC before Oklahoma and Texas join. Missouri is 0-16 in SEC play.
Ooh. Remember when Missouri was a good basketball program, a really good basketball program?
South Carolina was picked below them. South Carolina was picked below 3-13 Vanderbilt in SEC play.
I mean, Lamont's speech there is good, but it's not Biff Poggi from Charlotte good.
You're right.
Never again will you come here and pick us. Yeah, they will.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they will, Biff.
It's just, guys, it's absolutely beautiful. And if you're a Gamecock fan, get ready, because you're going to be a projected 4 or 5 seed. When you are a 4 or a 5 seed, that means you play a 4 or a 5 seed in the second round. In a coin flip game, winner goes to the Sweet 16. Sweet 16 at South Carolina is one of the best schools ever in school history. Your best season ever is a Final Four. Clemson's best season ever is an Elite 8. We don't have this laundry list of great basketball exploits in this state. But you know what, man? South Carolina has 2 games remaining. 2 games. Those games are against Tennessee at home on Wednesday. Boy, is CLA going to be rocking for that one, Diesel. Number 4, Tennessee. Then they're at Mississippi State, who's been nothing special this year. 1 more win for the Gamecocks. 1 more win. And Lamont Paris, in his second year, sets the all-time record for regular season wins at South Carolina. In his second bloody year. This team, this coach is awesome. They are incredible. All right? They are incredible. And that is something to behold. That is something to behold. Michie Johnson, BJ Mack, Colin Murray Boyles, Talon Cooper, Jacoby Wright, all of these guys getting contributions from every single place. You know, to have a leading scorer only with 14 points shows you just how unselfish that team is, and shows you just how much Lamont Paris has gotten buy-in.
All the best teams have 3, 4, 5 guys that can put up 15, 20 points a night when they need to. If you can get 3 or 4 guys all putting up 15 points, and then you kind of go ring around the rosy, duck, duck, goose on who's going to be the one to put up 30 that night, then you're going to win an awful lot of basketball games. And that's where South Carolina is this year. And it's just, it's absurd in a great way that they've achieved that a year after things seemingly hit rock bottom with that generational star that was going to be able to get elite guys to go to South Carolina.
Yeah. And they don't have that. They got 1 4-star commitment. Congratulations. They lose G.G. Jackson. They're way better without G.G. Jackson. Addition by subtraction there. Gamecock fans, how you feeling? How you feeling? This is bloody unbelievable. Started from the bottom, now you're here. Incredible, right? Incredible. 71307 on the text line is where you can get to us. Look at this. Look at this. Very, very, very respected Gamecock fan. These are the fans that you respect the most. The fans that can legitimately tip the cap to the other side. Spur Daddy, congrats to Clemson. Y'all have the rivalry this season in all sports. In all sports. How about it? How about some love for Spur Daddy and that objectivity that is possible? I see the Gamecocks making it all the way to the Elite Eight this season. So says Spur Daddy as well. Why not? Why not? You have a top 8 resume. You know, like you do have a top 8 resume. Your resume is outstanding. Florida is 27th in the most recent poll. South Carolina is 17th. Still no love. Diesel, the number 4 team in the country has 6 losses. Okay? Number 4, they are treating South Carolina in this poll like there's some stinking mid-major. Okay? I'm going to give you the number of losses for everybody until we get to South Carolina. Okay? Number 4, 6 losses. Number 5, 6 losses. Number 6, 6 losses. Number 7, 6 losses. Number 8, 7 losses. Number 9, 6 losses. Number 10, 8 losses. Number 11, 8 losses. Number 12, 7 losses. Number 13, 7 losses. Number 14, 8 losses. Number 15, 8 losses. Number 16, 9 losses. Number 17, South Carolina, 5 losses. Make it make sense. Please, make it make sense. A few weeks ago, we were watching Kentucky play, I think, Mississippi State on the road. And we said that the resumes look the same. Why is Kentucky ranked? Why is Kentucky 21-8 and 2 spots ahead of South Carolina, who has 3 fewer losses? Fewer losses in the non-conference, fewer losses in the conference. Like, what more do you need to see except the jersey? You know, like, what more do you need to see? South Carolina is the highest ranked team with 5 losses. The next highest ranked team with 5 losses. As a matter of fact, any other team that has 5 losses or fewer that is ranked is a mid-major. Diesel, they are dealing with South Carolina like they're a mid-major. South Carolina is 17th with 5 losses. Utah State is 22nd with 5 losses. South Florida is 24th with 5 losses. Dayton is 25th. They have 6 losses. When is the bloody disrespect going to end here? When is it going to end? You know, it just keeps on keeping on.
It's like they want to downgrade a team all season long so that when you get to tournament time, they can say, oh, look at this Cinderella run. Well, is it a Cinderella run when a team's proven all season long that they belong there? It's not a Cinderella run. It would be a Cinderella run for a team that went just about 500 in their conference, which is where a lot of at-large teams are going to come from. Middle of the pack ACC teams, middle of the pack Big 12 teams, middle of the pack Big 10 teams. Call those guys Cinderellas, not the teams that are elite in their conferences.
Yeah, like if I'm a Gamecock fan, I'm just like, all right, keep it up. Keep it up. We'll see you in the Sweet 16. We'll see you in the Elite 8. We might just see you in the Final 4. If you got 3 losses, man, you're elite. But I'd love to ask you, what separates South Carolina's 24-5 from Tennessee's 23-6, from North Carolina's 23-6, from Duke's 23-6? You know, Auburn has 2 more losses than the Gamecocks. They're number 13 in the poll. It's really shameful, you know, and it's just shameful how obvious the bias is. You know, like there's no rhyme or reason to why you've got these teams elevated in the way you have them. Texter says Carolina did a great job building the team through the portal, but they have an intangible cohesiveness that is fun to watch. I wonder when the last time, a texter says, is South Carolina and Clemson both made the NCAA tournament in the same year. How exciting. I can tell you that, texter. 1997 and 1998. 26 years ago. My final point on this is the following. You know, Lamont Paris has slayed the SEC this year. You have heard his calm and collectiveness. Can I just say, please give me his leadership all day long over the kind of leadership that breaks your foot on Gatorade coolers, Diesel? Can you please just give me like coolness, calmness, collectiveness? He's measured. He's thoughtful. He's not reactive.
If I'm Ray Tanner, I am putting those two on a wilderness retreat together and say, Shane, you need to learn a thing or two from Lamont.
Oh, no doubt.
And this has nothing, because it's a different sport. It's a very different sport. This has nothing to do with him being elite in year 2 and you still treading water in year 4. This has more to do with you need to learn from his personality.
Yeah. Diesel, one guy acts like a mature leader of men. The other guy acts like a teenager whose dad took his car keys. And Gamecock fans, it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay? You are not a bad fan for admitting the reality of this. You're not in any way, shape, or form.
Madcraft says you want them to pull an Aaron Rodgers together. Well, Madcraft, some would argue that Shane Beamer's already pulled an Aaron Rodgers, meaning acting like a petulant child.
That's true. Most certainly true. All right, guys. How important is temperament in success? Look at Lamont Paris. Look at Shane Beamer. I would say their results are not coincidental. Lamont Paris, cool as a cucumber. Shane Beamer, fire and brimstone. Kind of full and sound of fury, signifying nothing. All right, coming up next on the show, a definitive ruling as to what should happen with the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. My name is Mark Ryan. He's Diesel. And you're listening to Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Tremendous to have you guys with us here on a Monday edition of the show. You got a sports take? Drop it to us on our text line, 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Opening today by asking, can Clemson rightfully claim the state of South Carolina when it comes to sports? They won in soccer. They've won in football. They won in basketball. They swept in baseball. How about it? How important is temperament to success? There is a study in contrast going on right now in Columbia, South Carolina. Shane Beamer and Lamont Paris. One guy does not have a lot of composure, isn't experiencing a ton of success. One guy is incredibly composed, experiencing loads of success. Tell me why. Why is that? You tell me. My friends, the Bears have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft right now. The Bears, number 1 overall. Okay? And they've got the number 1 overall pick because Carolina crapped the bed. Carolina crapped the bed. And Carolina, was not trading up for Bryce Young to be giving up the number 1 pick, but the team was so bad that is where they are. You may have thought, well, maybe, just maybe, this is a top 10 pick, but they ended up giving Chicago the number 1 overall selection. Well, I'm here to tell you, my friends, that to me, the answer for what South Carolina should do with the number 1 overall, for what Chicago should do with the number 1 overall pick is abundantly clear. They should keep Justin Fields, and they should trade the number 1 overall pick for a king's ransom. Everyone's saying, well, no, Justin Fields, man, he's not been great. No, that's true. But how much of that is on him, and how much of that is on the bleep show that's surrounding him right now? The ownership, the general manager, the head coach, lack of offensive line, lack of weapons outside of DJ Moore. How much of this is on them?
Yeah, but if I'm Justin Fields and I don't know how much power Justin Fields has in this situation, player empowerment and all. If I'm Justin Fields, I'm asking, trade me anywhere. Get me the hell out of here, because there's a whole lot of dysfunction. There's a whole lot of dysfunction going on in this organization. And if he doesn't believe that whoever they might get, if they kept him and traded and got more picks, if he doesn't believe that's going to fix the issues, if he believes they are deeper seated than what a couple of picks can fix, I'm saying, get me out of here.
I got to tell you this, Diesel. You know, everyone's in love with Caleb Williams as the potential #1 overall pick. Caleb Williams became what is believed to be the first ever athlete to deny doing medical examinations with teams. Okay. Why? Why would you do that? You know, one league source believes Williams is the first combine invitee to attend the event after declining medical exams, which are typically considered to be one of the most essential elements of the combine. How about that? Also, Caleb did not sign off on having his medical records shared with all 32 teams. Well, why would he, you say? He's going to be picked first by the Bears. How does he know that? How does he know that? Guys, you know, I'll never forget this. This was like 6 or 7 years ago, and I had a date, and the girl that I'm on the date with looked nothing like her profile picture. Has that ever happened to you? Like, you're doing online dating, you line up a date, you're on the date. This girl looks nothing like her profile picture. Now, that's not a problem if she looks better than her profile picture. But you know as well as I do that fact, finding someone who looks better than their profile picture, is about as rare as finding Bigfoot. Okay? So anyway, I'm on this date with this girl, and she says to me, do I look like my profile picture? And I said, not at all. Not at all. Like, you're asking me a question. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, but the answer is not at all. And when you lie to me, there is not going to be a second date. It's not about getting the first date. It's about getting the second one, right? Because then I've met you. I like you. I've seen you. You've seen me. We've connected, etc. There was no second date because she did one of those things where she took the picture like way above her head, and like it has like a slimming effect and you can't see everything. And there was no second date there. No second date. Caleb Williams, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? I think that's pathetic. I really do. Let's go to the phones, and we've got Jason in Columbia who leads us off. Jason, greatly appreciate the call, man. You're offsides.
Mark, that's a red flag. Anytime a woman takes that picture where she's tilting it down at her face, at her head, that's a red flag. That's a no-go immediately.
Yeah, you know what, man? You know what, Jason,
like
where were you in my life 6 or 7 years ago to tell me that? I never even thought about that. I'm like, oh, she looks cute. I don't know why it looks like a drone is taking this picture of her, but she looks really cute. I'm going to go out with her. Oh, my gosh, man. She looked nothing like the person I agreed to go out with.
Yeah, that's a definite personal foul. You're 100% right on your observation, the difference in personalities between Beamer and Paris. Look, man, as a Clemson fan, I should dislike both of them, but I respect Paris, man. I like the way he handles himself. I mean, it took me about 30 seconds of listening to Shane Beamer talking, saying, okay, I can smell the rich kid DNA like a mile away on this one. Lamont Paris, this is a kid who's – and it's so funny because people always compared Dabo to Beamer, and I'm like, well, I mean, he might be a Sweeney, but he'd be like Will Sweeney. He might be Dabo's son because that's rich kid DNA born on third base all day long. That Lamont Paris dude, I mean, he's quiet. I don't hear anything from him.
Right.
I don't see any stupid Full House videos or Sopranos videos from their media department. They just come in and he's winning games. So, I mean, you got to get
You don't see any stupid sunglasses. You don't see any of that stuff.
Exactly.
You just see no nonsense business. You don't see Lamont Paris clapping back individually at people who doubted the team. He's just going out and proving them wrong, right? He's silencing the doubters with performance, not words, performance. And that's so damn impressive.
Yeah, and it's like that, that reliever pitcher for Carolina Saturday night. He could have taken a lesson from Paris. Don't run your mouth. Just let your play talk for you. The guy that was skipping around the mound and then got one bombed 700 feet out of the field. out of the park in the 12th inning. But listen, on the people that are telling you, you got to watch these Carolina fans, Mark, because they will give you bad information.
Okay.
Okay. For them to say that they've got every other sport, well, hold off. Okay, let's go to soccer. We just beat them for the 10th win in a row this year.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, won our 4th natty. They have 0. Okay. Baseball. They've got that amazing 2-year run out in Omaha. You give them credit. They've got the 2 natties, which is most important. But we got a 43-game lead on them head-to-head, and we won 6 out of the last 8 series against them. Okay, basketball. They were really good way back, like in the black and white TV days with Frank McGuire in the ACC. Once they left in 1972, which is I was born in 76. During my lifetime, we're 38-20 against them head-to-head in men's basketball.
Wow.
And then, of course, we got Valerie Cagle, the young GOAT in softball. She's a cool 4-0 all-time. We've only had softball for 4 years, and we're already a top 10 program. They're nowhere on the radar, Mark. We're going to rule them again when we play in a couple of weeks here. So you got to watch these Carolina fans when they start talking about underwater basket weaving or checkers or equestrian. They used to be real good at like women's backwards horseback riding. You got to watch them when they start harping on that stuff, because the real deal isn't exactly too favorable to our feathered friends in Columbia.
Equestrian. We had an equestrian reference on the show today. Jason in Columbia, man. Good stuff. Great stuff indeed. All right, my friends. So the definitive answer for what the Bears should do with the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 draft, we'll give you the why next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Thrilled to have you guys with us. Could not do it without you. The Renewal by Anderson fan phone is there for you at 844-326-3663. The text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Jason Kelce is announcing his retirement. He's teary-eyed right now after 13 NFL seasons. Remember, Michelle Tafoya, we shared an interview I had with Michelle Tafoya where she heard that Travis Kelce was going to be retiring as well. Up until this point, the word on Travis has been opposite of what Michelle said. But believe you me, if she is right, I'm going to be retweeting her left and right. That's incredible. Texter says, Mark, on that story, Caleb Williams hiding his medical exams and your date, who took the picture way up in the air and looked nothing like her her profile picture. Did she take the picture from space? Basically, I didn't know selfie sticks went that high in the air. I didn't know. But guys, it always amazed me when somebody would try to trick you into going on a date with them by hey man, they just really used a ton of filters, or it's just what do you win from that?
Why is your senior class photo with all 300 people you graduated with, why is that your profile photo?
Right. What happened since then?
It's because you're the 4 right in the middle.
What happened? What happened right there? Okay. Some of us gained the COVID-19. Some of us gained the COVID 256, right?
Ouch.
It is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I never understood that in dating. I never understood why to trick somebody into dating you one time. As soon as you realize that person isn't who they portray themselves to be,
the question
they're
is,
not going out with you again.
Did you pay for the date?
I don't remember, Diesel.
Or did you get up and walk? It's what's more rude to ask somebody that you have no intention of going out with again to split the check?
Oh,
or to just
Ooh.
get up and walk away before they even bring out drinks.
Ooh.
Be like, you know what? I'll pay for the drinks. After that, like you're not who you lied to me in your profile photo. Was it her in her profile photo?
It was.
So it was her. Okay.
Yeah. Diesel, it was her, but it was a much less attractive version of her.
Aha.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, many of us can take a good picture. Okay. So like, then you took the one halfway decent picture and you doctored that up every different way, 6 ways to Sunday. And that picture was like 2 or 3 years ago. And you don't look like that anymore. You don't look like that anymore. And imagine Diesel, like, if you were me, guys, like, would you have done the same thing I did? I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm sitting there disappointed on the date. And she says to me, do I look like my profile picture?
So she knows.
She said that to me. And I said, not at all. Not at all. Like I said that. And, I had a friend tell me, Diesel, Mark, that was savage that you did that. I said, was it savage or was it right? Was it just? Like, she asked me the question. How do I not look like my profile picture? She asked. I'd rather not get into that. I'd rather not get into the how or why. I'm just going to say you don't. Like, you don't. Okay. You don't. And
I was expecting a 10 and got a 4. I was expecting Ashley Simpson and you look like OJ Simpson.
I was expecting filet mignon and you gave me
ground beef.
Yeah. There you go. Mark, did she have to buy? I can't even read this, Diesel. I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna read that.
Mark, does she have to buy 2 airplane seats?
Oh, that's so wrong.
That is wrong. But I've seen a video floating around. Some of you might have seen it. It's a girl with way too much plastic surgery done to her butt. Like, from the waist up, she is cut. She's like V-cut skinny. But then her butt is gigantic because she's had a lot of work done to her butt.
She's listening way too much Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah, well, she's just taking in all the Instagram thought, put more in there, put more in there, put more in there. And then her butt doesn't fit an airplane seat anymore. And now she's bitching and moaning like you're making me buy 2 airplane seats. It's like, literally each cheek is big enough to fill up an airplane seat. Like, from the waist up, she's gorgeous.
Who told her that having 2 Christmas hams back there was a good idea? Who told her that? Okay, make it make sense.
Looks like 2 midgets fighting to get out of a gunny sack.
No. Texter says, let's see here. Mark, what's your take on what Coach Spurrier said about his concerns with Coach Napier? So says Spur Daddy. I don't know what he said, Spur Daddy. What did he say? Like, fill me in. Texter says also on Trevor Etienne calling Florida a losing program, and that's why he went to Georgia. Yeah, I think there was quite a few Benjamins as to why Trevor Etienne went to Georgia. That guy is pathetic. To go to one school and switch to the rival halfway through your career, no respect for that. Let's see here. Mark, Kelsey has a chance at 3 Super Bowls in a row, and I don't think he passes that up. I was told he's retiring. Michelle Tafoya, because of future plans with one Miss Taylor Swift. Okay, guys. So the Bears at number 1. All right. Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, to his credit, okay, has lofty goals. Okay. Right here, Caleb Williams himself details how he wants to be remembered after his NFL career has come and gone.
What do you want to be in now going to the NFL?
I want to be the best quarterback. I want to reach certain points that really only one guy has reached in the NFL. That's really my only goal. Legends live on. I want to be a legend. I want to have a golden jacket. I want to be the best, that I can possibly be. And I think that's enough to reach that point.
There's some red flags here, man. I got to tell you, there are some red flags. You got to be careful, okay? Because USC was 7-5 last year. In their losses, the defense gave up 43 points a game in those 5 losses. Is that Caleb Williams' fault? It's not. Who else put up a similar profile in college? Patrick Mahomes. Never really had a great winning season, but if you look at his defenses at Texas Tech, bro, they were historically awful. Like, what could God have done playing with that defense on that team. I think Patrick Mahomes was like 6-6 and 7-5 at Texas Tech. The defense just blew, absolutely blew. But guys, like Caleb Williams, you had teammates that came out on his USC team that said when Caleb Williams announced that he wasn't going to play in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville, they said, man, now we got a team. Bro, that's concerning to me. That is really concerning. Now you got a team? Now we got a team, the words were from his teammates. Then you have this reality. Louisville was favored by 7.5 points against USC in the Holiday Bowl. Louisville lost 42-28. Then how about this? Caleb Williams' replacement, Miller Moss, threw for 6 touchdown passes, tying a school record in the Holiday Bowl win. So, like, you lose Caleb Williams, you're a 7.5 point underdog. They're not going to win this game. They don't have Caleb Williams. They dominate Louisville. They play better. They play as a team. They play inspired football with intensity. They look great. Guys, have you guys ever seen the movie Draft Day? Kevin Costner. There was a player in the movie Draft Day, right? Bo Callahan. Cleveland, Kevin Costner played the GM of the Cleveland Browns. And he trades up to the number 1 pick because they need a quarterback. And this guy, Bo Callahan, out of Wisconsin, was like the bona fide, surefire number 1 pick in the draft. They trade up to get him. And after they make the trade to get him, all of these red flags start coming out about exactly who this guy is. Listen to Kevin Costner do some digging on Bo Callahan and tell me there's not some real Caleb Williams vibes here.
Look, I love Bo. My coaches love him. The cheerleaders love him. The fans love him. Everyone loves him.
And how come none of his teammates went to his birthday party?
Are you kidding me with this?
Listen, I'm going to ask you something. I want you to be absolutely honest with me. You think you can do that?
Yes, sure, anything, Mr. Weaver.
Oh, did your teammates come to your birthday party?
What?
No, they didn't. They didn't. What does that say? He wasn't close with his teammates. His teammates didn't like him. Why are we having leaks come out about USC? Now we got a team when Caleb Williams isn't going to play in the bowl game because he's too good to play in a bowl game when he's the projected number 1 pick, just like he's too good to give his medical records when he's the number 1 pick. Meanwhile, what do you have in Chicago? You got Justin Fields. Justin Fields at Ohio State dropped 67 touchdowns and 9 picks. Justin Fields at Ohio State gave you last season the 4th best QBR in the league beginning in week 7. 4th best QBR in the entire league. Okay? In the entire league. What are we doing here? Like, what? I don't understand what the issue is. Has Caleb been great? No. Has Trevor Lawrence been great? No. Has Zach Wilson been great? Hell no. Mac Jones, the same. No quarterback from that draft class has been great. But Justin Fields has had absolutely, positively nothing to work with. Nothing to work with. Here is Mike Greenberg talking about Justin Fields. This was about 1 year ago today, and I think Mike Greenberg's call still has a chance to become prophetic.
The final piece to the puzzle came this offseason with the Bears' acquisition of DJ Moore. They are hoping he can be to Fields what Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown were to his predecessors. And I'm here to tell you, they got that absolutely right, all of it. The people of Chicago have been waiting all of their lives, like a century plus, for what they are finally about to have. Write it down. Justin Fields is going to be the next superstar quarterback in the NFL.
Those are the words of Mike Greenberg. Well, now it's a year later. Hasn't happened yet. He says it could. Here's what I'm willing to tell you, okay? If you swapped out Lamar Jackson with Justin Fields, I'm not sure Baltimore is worse at all. I'm not sure they're even slightly worse than they were this year. I think Justin Fields does for you a lot of the same things that Lamar Jackson does in that offense. And yet the Bears are going to move on. The Bears are going to move on, and I'm going to tell you why when we come back. They're going to perpetuate a problem they already have. My name is Mark Ryan. He is Diesel. What do you do with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft if you are the Chicago Bears? Give us your answer to that question. Do you keep Justin Fields? Do you trade him? Or do you get him help? Mark Ryan, Diesel, the fan upstate. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the fan upstate. Great to have you guys with us on the show. Diesel has been bent over by the man. One would think Diesel might be upset that I just spoke in those terms of him, but I am telling you the absolute truth. Diesel, can you share with me about how Uncle Sam is telling you to say his name?
You remember the episode of South Park where Cartman threw a tantrum at his mom because she wouldn't get him a PS5 or whatever, a PS4? And she's like, well, let's just go out to dinner instead. He goes, okay, you're going to wine and dine me? Because I like to get wine and dine before I get effed. And that's what's happening right now in my income taxes. I'm not a fan of this. This sucks. I haven't changed anything about my life in the last year. My wife hasn't changed anything about her life in the last year. You do all the things all year long. You pay your taxes off of your check, and then you pay your taxes on this, and you pay your taxes on that. And then the end of the year comes around, you do your filing, you're thinking, okay, cool, we're going to get a couple $100 back. It's not going to be this huge sum of money because, that's how it's gone in the past. And then they're like, oh, no, you owe us $1,000. What? I paid my income taxes all year long. And now what are you telling me I owe you money? How does that happen? Like, income taxes and tax returns kind of feels like playing roulette with the government, right? Like you spin the wheel and just like, okay, that's what you get. It sucks.
This year you got bent over by the man.
Yeah, there should be some alert system that says, okay, this is changing. You may want to do this in order to not end up owing the government at the end of the year, but you don't find that out until the end of the tax year.
Yeah, that is true. Well,
sucks.
Diesel, honestly, man, I'm not trying to make you jealous. I get back roughly $1,300 to $1,400 a year.
Well, it's probably because you're paying a lot more taxes. You're electing to pay more taxes off of your check every 2 weeks.
But let me tell you what's funny about this is that last year suddenly, like Angela wanted to file together and we had to owe money. And I said, I'm never doing that again. I said, every year when I do it on my own, I get $1,300 or $1,400. Now I do it with you and I owe money, And so she's like, no, everyone says you're better off doing it together. I'm like, well, clearly I'm not better off. Okay. Because now I owe money. I'm doing the taxes. I'm doing the taxes with, how am I better off?
Look, I mean, Ashley did well this year. And that's what ended up costing her, had she filed separately, if we filed separately, I would have gotten back what I normally do. But because she did so well this year, it came back to bite her come tax time. But then us filing together means she didn't know a ton. So is that really how you want to treat your wife? Is that really what you want to do to your wife?
Sorry that you owe $3,000.
Sorry, sweetie. I'm going to stuff, $600, $700, $800 into my pocket while you wipe out your life savings to pay the tax bill that you owe. Yeah, that's not a good thing to do to your wife.
No, generally not. Generally not. How have the tax filings gone for you guys? Any bad surprises? Good surprises? It's totally unpredictable, isn't it? It almost feels like because of all the breaks we got with COVID, now the government is getting even with us. Now nobody's getting a refund at all.
I put up a poll on my Diesel on Radio Twitter page asking the question, with your returns this year, are you getting effed up or just getting effed? And as of right now, 70% are saying they're just getting effed on their income taxes this year.
What's the difference between those two options?
Well, one is partying. Getting effed up is
Okay,
partying.
Okay.
Getting effed is getting effed.
Okay. Yeah, no one likes to get effed. Guys, the other thing I want to share with you is this.
Unless you're trying to F you all the time.
That's right, baby. I was asked this question this weekend, and I seem to get asked this question about once a year, and I don't know how to answer it. Can you guys help me, please? Can I turn to you offsiders for some help with this deep question? Can you guys help me make sense of this? I was asked this weekend again, where are you from? And I don't know how in the hell to answer that.
It's easy. New York.
Okay, Diesel says New York because I was born there, but I lived there for 4 years. Lived in Houston 9 years for my formative years, 4 to 13. Went to high school in Florida, went to college in Florida, then moved around all a bunch for my career. And, now I've been in Greenville for 5 years. How would you answer if you were me? Where am I from? It seems like the most basic question in the world, right? It seems like the most basic question that would have like the most simple answer. And, it's a simple answer for many of you. For example, Diesel, if you were somebody were to say to me, where is Diesel from? I think I would say Hickory, North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is where you're from always where you're born, even if you weren't there for very long? Okay. Like, is it always where you were born? I'll give you an example. Like I was born in Syracuse, New York, moved to Houston, Texas when I was 4. My sister was born in Houston, Texas, moved to Fort Collins, Colorado when she was 6. Like, are you always from where you're born? Is that the prerequisite? What if you were born in a place and you were there for a year? Are you still from that place? Are you from where you had your formative years? For me, that would have been Houston, Texas. Are you from where you went to high school and college? For me, that would be Florida. Diesel, I am proud to say that now this is the stop in my career that I have been at the longest. Okay. 1080, the team in Orlando, I was at for 3 years. I went to the Florida Panhandle where I met Rob Brown. I was in the Florida Panhandle for 3 years. I then went to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta a year and a half. I then went to Tampa Bay. I was in Tampa Bay for 3 years. I then went to Houston. I was in Houston for, 2.5 years. Okay. And now I've been here for 5 years. Awesome, awesome place. Awesome place. I just have no idea how to answer the bloody question. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to say it. And it just feels like people always hit me with like, bro, how do you not know where you're from? Like, how do you not get it? How do you not know? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. It has baffled me through the lengths of time. And I'll ask you guys that question, 844-326-3663 on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone. Could you help me today figure out where I'm from? Okay, because Diesel says, easy, Mark, you're a New Yorker. You're born there. 4 years. Lived in Syracuse, New York. You're a New Yorker. But guys, okay, 33 of my 46 years have been in Houston, Texas, or the state of Florida. 33 out of 46. So where am I from? You've got to make the call for me because I don't know how the hell to answer that. And I'm tired of not having an answer to that. Okay? There's a couple things that bother me lately. Number one, everyone's calling me sir all of a sudden. Okay? Like whatever the age of sir is, I'm that.
Means
now.
It's time to start buying Just for Men.
Just for Mark. That's right. It's like everyone's calling me sir. I don't like that. The other thing is, how can I be called sir? How can I be a sir who doesn't know where he's from? Like Lonzo's from Ohio. Rob Brown is from the Florida Panhandle. Diesel's from Hickory, North Carolina. MARC RYAN has moved 18 times in his life. Where is he from? Like Texter says, Mark, this is easy. Just say your mom and dad. I am from my mom and dad. Beautiful thing, right? Beautiful thing. Mark, I would say that where you're from depends on where you spent the majority of your adolescent and child life. Okay. Syracuse 4 years, Houston 9 years. When does my adolescent life end? From 13 to 20, I was in Florida. What do you think? Is it Houston? What do you say? Mark, you're one of us now, man. You're from upstate South Carolina by way of a multitude of places that your radio career has taken you. I love that, Texter. I absolutely love that.
So soft, Texter. Don't go easy on Mark. Don't let him off the hook. He's a New Yorker. If you say I live somewhere, you're not from there. You came from somewhere before that. If you came from somewhere before that and somewhere before that and somewhere before that, you're from the place where you originated. Now, you can say I don't hold a whole lot of emotional tie to that area, but that's still where you're from. What does your birth certificate say?
New York.
New York. Then you're from New York. It's that easy.
Onondaga County in New York. That's what my birth certificate says. Is that where I'm from, my friends? Can you help a brother out? Chris Phillips joining us next right here on Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate.
Might be an offsider. This is Offsides with Mark Ryan, only on the
It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. Great to have you guys with us. Joined right now by the host of SEC Unfiltered, the owner and founder of the SEC's newest and biggest and best, all things considered, SEC media outlets. And he joins us right now on the show. All right, Chris. Clemson has beaten South Carolina 2-0 in soccer, 72-67 in basketball, 16-7 in football, and 5-4 and 5-4 in baseball. For our listening audience, and because, Chris, I know you like to speak the truth, can we just get one time a recording here of you saying Clemson runs this state?
Well, Mark and Diesel, first things first, I appreciate you having me. And yes, in the year of our Lord 2024, Clemson runs the state of South Carolina. Man.
Yes, he did it! It's unbelievable!
Mark, how many times have we said don't talk over the mea culpa? And then you did it. We're going to have to make him do it again.
I don't think.
I think I'd be crazy to say otherwise. I mean, at this point, I know South Carolina has the point when it comes to women's basketball, and certainly they should be proud of that, but it is what it is. You win the major sports, you win the revenue generating sports, and that's enough for me to call it that Clemson runs the state of South Carolina for the 2023-2024 athletic calendar year, if you will. So it's it was a tough weekend for Gamecock fans, and I tell you guys, I've got a take that you guys may or may not disagree with regarding the series on the format, but I think losing that Friday game, losing your home game really affected the momentum for South Carolina. I'm not saying that's why they lost at all, but guys, I said this before the weekend that I thought the winner of the Game 2 game at Segra Park was going to win the series, and because I felt like both teams would protect their home field. And once you went down 0-1, guys, and had to go to Clemson yesterday, I felt pretty confident that Clemson was going to find a way to get the job done at home. But it was a great series, competitive. We had a walk-off and the best rivalry in college baseball delivered. Guys, just to give reference to how competitive it's been, over the last 6 years, I believe it is, we have not had a consecutive winner. So it's gone back and forth every single year. And this year, unfortunately, it was Clemson's turn.
Chris, how many years is national championship smack valid? Because there's a lot of it on both sides of this rivalry between Clemson and South Carolina. It's now been, going on 13 years since South Carolina's last baseball national championship. How long is that? Is that a worthy piece of smack talk? And at what point do you have to give up that ghost?
Yeah, I think Diesel probably a 5-year window, right? I think outside of a 5-year window is a little bit much. I'm not saying don't be proud of it, obviously, but yeah, using it in smack talk banter. I think after 5 years, it's kind of like, hey, let's live in the present, current day, if you will. So certainly South Carolina's baseball titles would not apply. I think Clemson is right at the end of being able to really use that in rivalry banter and rivalry smack talk, especially after the last 2 seasons. So I'll give you 5 years, give or take. But I think after that, it's kind of time to close the yearbook.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, joining us here on Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the fan upstate. Texter says, Chris, no one cares about baseball. This is a football state. Until South Carolina beats Clemson again on a regular basis in football, nothing else matters. True or false to that statement, Chris?
Well, I think that's false. I will admit football is king, right? I mean, from the national landscape, from the grand scheme, like everything is better when you win that football game. So I understand where they're coming from, but I would say that's false, man. I mean, you look at the crowds. I mean, look at the crowds basketball is bringing in right now. You telling me basketball doesn't matter at South Carolina, both men's and women's? You look at the crowds in baseball. I mean, the non-conference series, there were 8,200 people there, sold-out crowds. Look at Sager Park and Clemson over the last 2 days. College baseball matters to the people of this state. It is very, very important. Again, you look across the passion in the SEC as a whole, like college baseball matters. It's not up there against football, right? I understand football is king. I totally get that. Mark, you and I, and Diesel as well, we've got a really unique vantage point from the content perspective, right? We feel and understand that the way football moves the needle, unlike anything else when it comes to clicks and downloads and views and just content overall. But I think to say that it doesn't matter, to try to write it off in that way, if South Carolina would have won this series, I doubt they'd be singing that tune today.
Chris, looking at the current college baseball top 25, 6 out of the top 10 are in the SEC. That's absurd. Alabama's in the top 25. Auburn is there. South Carolina is there. Texas is there. Clearly, the SEC runs the college baseball on a national scale. But do you see any of those schools, especially in the bottom half of that list, the Auburn, the South Carolina, the Texas, making a big jump up into 15 or better? And do you see any of these top 10 teams kind of once they get into the rigors of conference play week in and week out, falling out of their top 10 perch?
Yeah, Diesel, it's a great question. Again, the SEC is loaded. The Carolinas are loaded, right? You look at Clemson there in the top 10 now. Campbell's up there. Coastal's up there. Duke, right? The Carolinas are very, very – I think NC State as well. The Carolinas are very well represented in the top 25. But certainly the SEC is loaded, as it is normally. I love Auburn's club, Butch Thompson. All they do is overachieve. I thought they had a really good showing over the past weekend in the tournament play that they were featured in, or 2 weekends ago, I should say, beat UConn 2 of 3 this past weekend. But I thought they've looked really good early on. Alabama's been a team that, I think Bama, and I'm sure we're going to have this conversation in a moment about South Carolina basketball and why do they not get the respect, because they're not a blue blood and they're treated like a mid-major. I feel like Alabama is not necessarily treated like a mid-major, but they're just looked at as, okay, Alabama is not a baseball school. They're pretty darn good this year. And Rob Vaughn's club, I know they lost game 3 of their tournament, but took down Indiana 12-0 in their first game. And Indiana, I think, one of the better teams in the Big Ten this year. They said, I believe, 11-1 on the year thus far. So I could see them making a rise. Guys, I would have said Vanderbilt before this weekend in regards to a team that could fall, but they just went 3-0 in the Gastrus Foundation Classic, which included a comeback win over Texas. So I feel pretty good. I don't want to, give you a cop-out answer, Diesel, but I think all those teams that are in the top 10, I'd be really surprised if any of them really slid all that far. I mean, I picked Tennessee to win the SEC East. Texas A&M's red hot. They're undefeated. Their pitching staff has been really good early, and Jace Lavalette and Braden Montgomery are 2 of the best sluggers in college baseball. And then that group at the top at 2, 3, 4 with Arkansas, Florida, and LSU, I think they're all for real College World Series type of contenders. So, and then there's South Carolina, right? And you look at this past weekend, I'm concerned about the Gamecocks realistically. I'm not saying they're a bad ball club by any means, but, I think they got exposed a little bit from the standpoint of, I know it was 2 one-run losses, but they've got some things to figure out in their pitching staff. For starters, Lockhan started for longer than 4 innings. And then outside of Ethan Petrie and Cole Messina in the lineup, I think they have some real holes, and they got to find some guys to step up and be more consistent contributors. So you got to get it figured out for SEC play, guys. Believe it or not, literally next weekend, that'll get going, and the Gamecocks have to travel to Oxford, Mississippi to take on a dangerous Ole Miss team to get it rolling. So but outside of that, guys, I would say Georgia is probably the one that you look at as an underrated potential riser. I don't know if they're going to be top 15, but they're a really fun club to watch early. Just took 2 games from Georgia Tech, and I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. But, I mean, the SEC is as loaded as it's ever been, guys. The only team I'd say downright stinks this year, the Missouri Tigers, and that's probably the toughest job in the SEC on the diamond.
Chris Phillips joining us here on Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Chris, what is Lamont Paris's secret sauce?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, Mark, every week I'm being asked that question because the Gamecocks just keep winning. And to your point, I was listening to you guys earlier today, by the way. Great show today.
Thank you.
The quote-unquote disrespect that obviously South Carolina's getting, being what, a five-loss team, and there's a lot of these quote-unquote blue bloods that are ranked ahead of them. And, I mean, yeah, guys, I just feel, and I don't know if this is ever going to go away, people are just waiting on South Carolina to turn back into the pumpkin. It just, and I think this season, guys, we say all the time that preseason rankings don't matter or preseason perception. I think this season actually proves why it is important, because I think one of the reasons, I think people just are still in shock of what South Carolina is. I think the Gamecocks play with a chip on their shoulder. I think they play with an edge. I think they like being doubted. I think I heard one of your listeners text in and say that the chemistry of this team, if you will, the cohesiveness, although it's a transfer portal built group, all these guys have come together and banded together. And, I thought Diesel hit the nail on the head earlier as well when he said that, it's a real team effort, right? Where last year it felt like it was either if Michie Johnson or Gigi Jackson didn't go off, I mean, this team was dead in the water. It seems like every night there's a new hero. BJ Mack didn't have a great game on Saturday, and yet other guys step up around, whether it's Josh Gray or it's Jacoby Wright or it is Michie or Talon Cooper or Miles Studi, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. So they're just finding ways to win, man, and good teams do that, and veteran teams do that, and teams with a lot of experience winning do that. I think that's the secret sauce right now. It's just they may not be the most talented on the floor every night. And I mean, Mark, you asked when is the disrespect going to end? I don't know if you looked at like the matchup indicators or the ESPN numbers. They're going to be an underdog against Tennessee and Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, who's not a great team, at least right now. So I don't think the disrespect's going to end anytime soon, but I'm not sure Lamont Paris would really have it any other way.
Chris, you said you were listening to the show before, so I'm going to put something we talked about earlier to you in a different format here in this question. If Ray Tanner puts Shane Beamer in a room with Lamont Paris and Dawn Staley, what lessons should he take from both of them?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really good question. The lessons he should take, I think Lamont is great with the media. I feel like he's very level-headed, very calm. He gets his point across, but in I don't want to say a monotone way, but it doesn't seem like to me, from what I've taken for Lamont speaking to the media, he never lets his emotions really get the best of him. I mean, guys, I'm sure you saw last week, and it's funny, admittedly, I tuned in to the Fan Upstate Offsides to hear the Offsides take from Mark Ryan of Shane Beamer's latest viral press conference clip, but unfortunately I didn't get it, which I don't blame you, Mark. Sometimes it's better to just stay away. You and I both learned that lesson the hard way. But, I just think, learning to deal with the media first and foremost and kind of take the emotion out of it and be more of a stoic. That's one of the things that I've voiced many times about Shane Beamer and kind of his dealings. But, they're all wired differently. But I think what you've seen with Lamont Paris, right? I mean, he replaced Frank Martin, who was the crazy hothead screaming and yelling and all that. And, Lamont, much more subdued, much more the steady hand. But I think the subdued, steady hand wins out more than the emotional head case, if you will. So I think that would be the biggest thing. Outside of that, I'm sure there'd be some coaching tidbits here and there, but I think maybe the stuff kind of off the field would be the biggest takeaways he could get from Lamont and Dawn.
What would you say, Chris, if you were to attach a percentage to it? What is, like a presidential approval rating, what is Beamer's approval rating right now among Gamecock fans?
Mark, I would still say it's pretty high. If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say, I'd probably go 70-30, honestly. I think
70%. Do you realize the president has never had an approval rating that high, ever?
Thankfully, I don't think this is quite as divisive as the political stuff, presidential stuff. I mean, guys, I still think, whether, and I think there's a lot of people, Mark, that may be on the fence, but are going to choose to obviously support Shane Beamer and be behind him 110%. I think the approval rating is still pretty high, guys, just from what I gather. It's really, really tough because I have not spoken to every single Gamecock fan, and I'm really trying to also not let, what the crazies on social media, if you will, what they have to say, because you pointed out many times, Mark, I mean, what percentage of your audience is actually the ones engaging on Twitter? It's a very small amount, right? So I'm not going to let that sway the perception, as a whole, but I think the approval rating is very high, guys, but I think it can turn rather quickly, right? I think that last year, probably going into last year, I think the approval rating was 100%. And after that Tennessee loss, I mean, it was astounding to me. I never thought I would hear people seriously questioning the future under Shane Beamer and decisions he was making as head coach. But I think after what most would call a successful portal haul, a successful signing class, I think there's a lot of optimism with what Lenoris Sellers can bring at the starting quarterback position. And, I think most Gamecock fans just have their fingers crossed and hope and believe that, Shane Beamer can be the 2022 version of what he was and not the 2023 version. So it has been an interesting offseason, with the coaching staff changes, obviously with the wide receiver coach thing and again, I didn't really dive into it a ton because I guess I've learned my lesson here and there, but it was just a kind of weird vibe. The James Coley thing, he leaves and they hire a new guy from Limestone and, well, he's better than him anyways, even though we didn't target him first. Anyway, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, but I think all in all, it's been a good offseason. I think folks are excited. I think they're optimistic, but again, I think 70-30 positive, but it can turn in a hurry.
Chris, what does Lamont Paris need to do this upcoming offseason to really help the basketball program take yet another step, to start getting that national respect? Does he have to just land this massive class or even it seems that the Lamont Paris' style is going to be keep it quiet, let the wins speak for themselves. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be enough on the national scale. You have to do something big. Is there anything Lamont Paris can do to kind of put Gamecock basketball a little higher up on that rung so that when they start off next season and hopefully have another great year next year, you kind of get out of this, we're sitting in the 40s in the net. We're sitting in this little pocket of disrespect.
Hey, Diesel, I think there's a number of things he can do. I mean, first things first, though, I will say, I think not just winning, but winning in March, I think is what's going to catch people's attention, right? You and I both know, and we all know, it's all about March Madness. I mean, it's all about the tournament. I think the way you garner real respect is if South Carolina is able to make a run to the Elite Eight. Maybe they make the Final Four again, but if you can get a minimum of the Sweet 16, win a couple of games, right, maybe beat a blue blood or two, I think that is going to speak more loudly probably than anything else they can do. Now, because here's the thing, Diesel, even after this great season, if South Carolina, for whatever reason, if they go one and done, it'll be like it never happened. In regards to public perception, in regards to respect going into next year, nobody's going to be giving them any credit for anything they did because of that. It all comes down to March Madness, right? So I think winning a couple of games in the tournament will be, massively beneficial. And then I think obviously just recruiting well and adding good players. I think going back out in the transfer portal and doing what they did before and finding the right guys and finding key pieces, I think continue to recruit well, which I think Lamont's actually doing a pretty good job on the recruiting trail. But I really do believe, Diesel, that winning trumps all. And again, I'm not talking about regular season winning. I'm not even talking about the SEC tournament. I'm talking about winning in the NCAA tournament in March Madness. I think that garners more respect than anything. You put together 3 or 4 years of going to the tournament and winning a game or two. You ain't going to win the whole thing, but you put together winning a game or two, all of a sudden, 3-4 years, we're talking about, oh, yeah, of course South Carolina's going to go to the NCAA tournament. They go every year, right? Like it can change that quickly, but I think you got to get to March and make some noise.
Chris, does what you said about it not mattering if you don't make a deep run into this tournament, if you go one and done, does that apply to the South Carolina fan base also? Has the fan base truly bought into men's basketball to where they're not starting from so low on the attention scale next season, or are they at a place where, okay, now we're going to get that extra 5,000 fans or 2,000 fans or 3,000 fans starting the season at home games?
I don't think people are going to label this season, Diesel, from the Gamecock perspective, a wash if that happens. I mean, listen, upsets happen. Now, it's going to be massively disappointing. There's no doubt, and it should be, right? As good as this team's been this year, if they were to go and get upset in the tournament, I mean, it's why we love March Madness, but you don't love when it happens your team. So obviously it'd be massively disappointing. But, I mean, no, certainly. I don't think Diesel it would take much away at all from what Lamont Paris and company did this year, especially after the tumultuous year one where it felt like they hit a rock bottom. And, I mean, to come in this year, be picked last, not give a damn about it. And I know you lost the rivalry matchup, but what they've done in SEC play and some of the big wins and beating Kentucky and beating Tennessee at Tennessee and beating Florida on Saturday, Mark Ryan, and beating others. No, I don't think an early exit in March Madness would necessarily take away from what feels like really a magical season in Columbia.
The Gamecocks have fewer losses than the number 4 team in America. The good news about that is they play that number 4 team in America this week. I have never seen such disrespect. I mean, I actually think the disrespect Florida State got is dwarfed by what's happening to South Carolina right now. They are effectively being told you are a mid-major with what your record and your ranking is, and I think it's gross. Chris Phillips, always good to catch up with you, my friend. Thanks so much for all you do.
Mark Diesel, appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great week.
All right, you too. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, joining us right here on the show. We've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next here on Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Wonderful to have you guys with us. Could not do it without you. We appreciate you oh so very, very much. Diesel has gotten bent over by the man in terms of his taxes. And Diesel wants to know if you are, what was your question, Diesel, on your taxes?
If with your tax returns, are you getting effed up or are you just getting effed?
Are you having a party?
Yeah.
Or are you receiving a prostate exam? One of the two. I am asking you guys today because I was asked this again over the weekend. I was asked, where am I from? And it amazes me that, like, guys, like, for real, like, I'm in my mid-40s, and I don't know how to answer the question, where am I from? I have to use Just for Mark hair products, and I don't know how to answer, where am I from? I still don't know how to answer, where am I from? Greenville is now the place that I've been the longest in terms of my career, right? But am I from where I'm born? I was born in Syracuse, but only lived there 4 years. Am I from where I lived when I was a kid? Well, I lived in Houston from the age of 4 to 13. Am I from where I went to high school and college? I did that in the state of Florida. I don't know how to answer where I'm from. How will you guys answer that? Can I get some help? Pretty please. It is time for us to do that jam. We call it the top 5 at 5. The top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstates, Offsiders, the top 5 at 5 starts right now.
And now, the top 5 at 5.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hit it.
5.
At number 5, the number 1 pick in the NFL draft should not be made by the Chicago Bears. The Bears should trade the number 1 overall pick and keep Justin Fields and get a king's ransom and build around him. Am I completely sold on Justin? No, I'm not. But neither am I on the first 2 quarterbacks on the board this season, Caleb Williams and Drake May. Caleb Williams gives off prima donna Bo Callahan draft day vibes. No one on his team goes to his birthday. And Drake May is a little bit too mistake prone And for some reason, I'm seeing Drake May, and I'm thinking about Mitchell Trubisky at North Carolina. Too many turnovers, too mistake-prone, didn't really elevate his team. Justin Fields, 67 touchdowns, 9 picks, 4th best QBR in the league from week 7 to the rest of the year. And then you consider, guys, that you have like other quarterbacks who needed somebody to develop them. Patrick Mahomes needed Andy Reid. Josh Allen needed Brian Daboll. What's happened to Josh Allen after Brian Daboll? Jalen Hurts needed Shane Steichen. All right. So why is it okay for Justin Fields to be labeled a bust when he's been the victim of being a Chicago Bear? And that's the only thing he's really done wrong. He's been a Chicago Bear with a clueless front office and no offensive line. I would finally try to get that right by building around him with a collection of first-round picks. And I got to be real with you. I see quite a few red flags on Caleb Williams. The fact that some guys on his team said when Caleb announced he wasn't going to play in the Holiday Bowl, some guys on his team said, now we have a team. What did they do with that team? They were a 7.5-point underdog against Louisville. They beat the Cardinals 42-28. Oh, and Caleb Williams' replacement, Miller Moss, threw 6 touchdown passes in that game, tying a school record. If you had a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow in this draft and you knew they were it, okay, trade Justin Fields. But if you are just swapping out one question mark for another question mark, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I don't quite get it. What would you guys do at number 1? Would you keep the pick? Would you trade the pick? Or would you get Justin Fields' help? My answer is C. Next up.
4.
At number 4 on the show today. Man, I'm telling you, I watched this yesterday, and she is becoming appointment viewing. Caitlin Clark set the all-time scoring record. I mean, I'm watching her on TV in the studio right now. All-time scoring record, men or women, NCAA college basketball. Now she's running away with the award. Here's what it sounded like live and in real time.
This for college basketball history. She does it with a foul shot. Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer in major college basketball history. Passing Pistol Pete Maravich.
You know, like that was Gus Johnson on the call. You know what makes him unbelievably amazing? Is that he can make a free throw sound like a big deal. That dude makes you feel as though when you're watching a game he's calling, that every game he calls is the biggest deal ever. And so, man, that was awesome yesterday. And I'll tell you what, like if it was a regular college basketball game, my wife isn't watching that. Angela was watching that with me. Oh, Caitlin Clark's on? That's what she said. We sat and watched her break the record together. So, yeah, guys, you can chime in and you can say your misogynistic BS that, hey, man, Pistol Pete did it in 3 years. She doesn't really hold the record. But the record book says she is the record holder. She does not have cheating in any way attached to her record. This isn't a Barry Bonds steroid situation. The game changed. She played an extra year. Pistol Pete, freshmen weren't allowed. Caitlin Clark is the all-time leading scorer, men or women, in college basketball. And she rocks. Next up.
3.
At number 3 today, can I share just a quick beef with you guys about the upstate right quick? Just a quick beef. I'm supposed to do dinner with my wife tonight. And then I realized, oh, crap, it's Monday. Every single place in this area is closed on Monday. Diesel, like, I got to be real with you. You guys might be used to that. I'm not. Like, what is that? Like Sunday's the holy day, right? Sunday Chick-fil-A is closed. How come every place is closed on Monday? Do you guys have, like, if you're going to go grab a bite on Monday, do you guys have a favorite spot, a favorite jam? Like, let me know, because I'm supposed to do dinner with the wife tonight, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't. It's Monday. I don't know where to go out to eat on Monday. every place that we like to go out to eat on Monday is freaking closed. I've never understood that. I've pondered that for 5 years living here in the upstate. I've never been anywhere where every place you want to go out to eat is closed on Monday. Can someone explain that to me? Make it make sense, please. Next up,
2.
At number 2 on the show, Gamecock fans, gather around. I'm about to give you some truth serum. Clemson has beaten you 2-0 in men's soccer. Clemson's beaten you 2-0 in men's basketball. Clemson's beaten you 5-4 and 5-4 in baseball and 16-7 in football. Say it with me, Gamecock fans. Clemson runs this state. There is no other way to say it. There is no beating around the bush. There is no hiding it. The one point that you guys always said to me has been, Mark, they've got football, but we pay attention to all sports. Well, guess who's paying attention to paddling you a little bit in all those sports? Clemson. And they're doing it right now. You know, baseball's supposed to be your sport. That's supposed to be your point of pride. 5-4, 5-4. You know, we heard Chris Phillips say in the last segment, well, Mark Ryan, I feel like if that first game is played Friday night in Founders Park, the series goes differently. Cry me a river. You played the second game in Columbia. How the hell is that neutral field? Okay? Clemson wasn't complaining. Every time we play that game, Clemson, South Carolina at Floor Field, you got to deal with South Carolina fans spewing nonsense saying Clemson is closer to Floor Field in Greenville than is South Carolina. Yeah, I'm sorry. Clemson is 40 minutes away. You're an hour and 40 minutes away. You can't go an hour and 40 minutes to see a baseball game against Clemson. There's absolutely no excuse there. Clemson didn't make excuses. Clemson went to Columbia, South Carolina in the most farcical neutral site game I've ever seen and won on a walk-off. So without further ado, my friends, just let's state the obvious, okay? It is Clemson that runs the state of South Carolina and that runs the state of South Carolina athletically. If you can admit that as a Gamecock fan, you've earned my respect. No further questions, Your Honor. And finally,
1.
At number 1 today, I'd like to ask you guys this question. How important is temperament to success? The Gamecocks have two polar opposites, all right? Two polar opposites. They've got Lamont Paris, who is cool as a cucumber. You've got Shane Beamer, who is fire and brimstone. One guy is having a ton of success well before his time. One guy is a little bit iffy and acts a little bit like a teenager who's had his cars taken away from him by his dad, fighting with media members, kicking Gatorade coolers. You know, guys, give me Lamont Paris's leadership all day, every day, over Beamer breaking his foot on Gatorade coolers. Could you ever see Lamont Paris doing that? I can't. And so I tell you, there's no coincidence that that guy and his leadership style and the way that he's a leader of men and calm and cool and collective and rational and thoughtful and all these things that Shane Beamer isn't, there's no doubt why he's had the success he's got. He's unbelievable. And he first played the disrespect clip in October. I love this clip. This sounds like a topic that Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel would do. Check this out.
There were 14 picks last year. Does anybody know how many of those were right? The team was picked at whatever spot, and then it ended up finishing in that spot out of the 14 picks. 0. Not one team last year was picked in this spot and then finished in that same spot. So I say that only to say also half of the picks last year. Let's say if your standard deviation was 1 or 2 or 3, it seemed like you knew something and you picked those right. I.e., I picked the team first and they finished 4th. You had some sort of idea. 7 of the picks last year fit to that criteria. 7 of the picks were off by more than 4. 2 of the picks, one was off by 7, one was off by 8. So there's not much in a pick, but I will say this personally, and I hope our team takes this. The only thing I can thank them for is that they picked us last. Second to last is nothing. What does that mean? I can't even use that as billboard material. They pick us second to last. So last it is.
I love that. I love what he's saying. I love what he's about. They were picked to finish last. Guess where they are? Tied for second in a top 3 league in America. Tied for second place. You know, the SEC has a team, Missouri, that is 0 for bloody 16 in conference play. And these yahoos that vote in these preseason polls thought Lamont Paris's bunch was worse than that. Can you believe that? They thought they were worse than that. And Lamont Paris called it out, and Lamont Paris highlighted, and he got his team to buy in, and he got a bunch of spare part pieces from all over college basketball, Island of Misfit Toys, and made them play as a team. And now you've got the South Carolina Gamecocks picked to finish last with a better record than Kentucky and Auburn, Bruce Pearl and John Calipari. No, they're still not getting love in the polls. The number 4 team in the country has 6 losses. South Carolina's number 17, and they have 5. They're ranked as though they are a stinking mid-major, and they're not. They're awesome. Lamont Paris should get the hefty raise he's about to receive, because what he's done is made South Carolina fans excited about men's basketball again. The number of parallels between his program and the one Don Staley is running are striking. Congrats, Lamont Paris. You, sir, are the man. And Shane Beamer, please do learn something from Lamont. You need to. How important is temperament in someone's success? I say very. And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE. It's the Renewal by Anderson fan phone at 844-326-3663. The text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can hit us on the Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at The Fan Upstate on every one. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. Mark Ryan, that is M-A-R-C Ryan at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. Texter says, I'm getting the prostate exam with no lube from the Wish version of a doctor on my taxes. Texter says, Diesel, if you had Brago for more than half the year or even close, just claim him as a child, and that's a $2,000 credit.
He's almost as expensive as a child.
I would be effed if not for my kids, he says. Texter says, Mark, I'd say since you graduated high school and college in Florida, that's where you're from, plus your family is still there. So says Spur Daddy. Thank you, Spur Daddy. Texter says, I am trading the number 1 overall pick and stocking up talent around Fields.
Remember this time last year when we were talking about this was a can't-miss quarterback class?
Yeah.
That it was going to be completely loaded, and then anybody who had the number 1 pick last year should wait for this year when you've got 2, 3, even 4 potentially elite quarterbacks coming out. And now we're finding holes to poke in all of them.
Texter says, favorite Monday spot, Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's about where we're at. You know, you want to go out to dinner Monday night. What do you do?
I just looked it up. Your favorite restaurant, Chili's, is open until 11.
There you go. There we are.
So what restaurants are you trying to go to that are closed on Mondays?
All the local spots, Diesel. They're all closed on Mondays. Look them up. They're closed. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, all the local spots is a wide open thing that's out there in the ether. I need names.
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Texter says a lot of restaurants are closed due to staffing issues. It is easier to give everyone the same day off and can have less staff. They usually do it on the slowest day, Monday. So says Vance, go Vols. Yeah, but I want to eat. They're all closed at the same time. Do you know about the Palmetto Series trophy they give out each year? As a Gamecock fan, I'll admit this is Clemson's year against Carolina. But, hey, I'll take 1 year out of the last 5. They've won the Palmetto Series. Sure. But Clemson runs the state. I'd like to hear you say it, Texter. Clemson runs the state. Here we go again. How about pointing out the fact Clemson is 0-5 in the Palmetto Series and is tied 5-5 in points for the current year. In the Palmetto Series, each game counts the same. Football counts for the same number of points as like equestrian or like volleyball. You know that isn't true. You know that isn't true. Clemson runs the state. They've won all the games that matter. Texter says, keep Fields, take the picks. Amen. Texter says, Caleb Williams will be a gigantic bust. He's an egomaniac. Texter says, hit your local Applebee's. You'll know more workers there than on your football team. How about it? All right, my friends, we bring on a very special guest and now a champion. And we do so next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. And we are the Fan Upstate.
JD, Roger, Madcraft, all of you, thank you for hanging out again today. Thanks for making us laugh in the comments section. I try to throw a few of them up throughout the show as best I can. A lot of stuff going on in here, and you guys are just so fast on this. It's easy to miss some of these sometimes. But, when it's relevant to the conversation that we're talking about on the air, try to throw them up on the screen so that anybody watching along on the show later on can see what you guys are saying. So thanks for watching the show today. We'll be back tomorrow.
You guys are the best, man. The absolute best. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow on the show.